toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. That sounds like a party just about to happen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program,
And you guys.
podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We're on show number 331. And by the way, I totally mislabeled the show notes last week. Last week was our 300th show, which is kind of a landmark, and we didn't even make a big deal out of it. And we make a big deal out of far less important things.
Last week was 330, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, 330. Yes, and this is 331.
Right. We're going for 333 is going to be.
That's going to be the big one. So we got all of that to look forward to. We're re-inviting everyone who's ever been a guest on the show. So we should have a reasonably
that includes
large
you, Bruce,
number of
and you, Brian.
Yep, absolutely. We are inviting you, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Now, because of syndication, Alan Denny, who is our guest today, along with Roberto. Now, I have your name down from the last time you were on as Roberto Rivas Villar.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Roberto Rivas.
Okay.
Easy.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Ian just said Roberto. So I had to go.
I just call him Bert.
Yeah, Bert.
Little
All right.
Rob. It's kind of when he's burping.
But we're excited about the anniversary show. Alan was asking me before we went on, how are we going to do the anniversary show in the structure of the show being on syndication now?
Intoxicated. That's how we're doing it.
Yeah, and my answer was we'll do it the same as we always do, but then there will be a very long bonus segment at the end that you'll have to be.
That will be posted on YouTube, and you can put it on in the background if you want to create the mood and have a sexy night at home or whatever.
Exactly, it works great for that.
It's good. It's good mood. So lower the lighting a little bit, put us on in the background. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, at a certain point, I'll try to say something like wild turkey, in my best Barry White impression that I can try to do.
Have you seen Burt Kreischer, the comedian, The Machine?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty funny.
I'm taking my shirt off as soon as we go live.
Oh, it should be fun. Today's show should be fun, too. And one of the reasons we have such esteemed guests on the program today is that we're doing a bourbon blind taste test.
Straight Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, buddy. Every one of them.
But there is, as almost always, a catch.
There's a catch.
What we're doing today is we're going to be tasting 12 different bourbons, all of which could be considered bottom shelf.
Yes.
So this is a bottom shelf bourbon blind taste
test.
So
when I went shopping, my criteria was it must say Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I didn't get any of the 80% neutral grain spirits with flavor added.
Right.
None of that stuff.
Right.
It had to say Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, and it couldn't exceed $15.
That's a hard threshold.
Yeah.
To hit.
Did you have any trouble finding?
Not really.
Yeah.
Actually, I had to put a couple back because some other ones looked interesting. And oddly enough, one of them, Jim Beam, in the plastic bottle was sub $15. In the
but if you went a
glass bottle, it was like $16 or something.
So it made it by you going
you
plastic.
save a few bucks in a plastic bottle. And then on top of that, when you drop it, because you're going to drop it because you're drinking Jim Beam, it doesn't break.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So we'll be doing that on today's program. We'll also be doing lots of other interesting things, but that'll be, whenever we're doing these blind taste tests, it essentially takes over the show. So we don't get to do a lot of other stuff. We will, however, do drinking news, because that's a stalwart now
that's
of the
thing
program.
We can't go without.
Yeah, absolutely. And today's drinking news teaser headline: what exactly is in a name? So we'll look forward to that. We'll be doing lots of tastings. We are tasting some interesting beers from Lakewood Brewing Company in Garland, Texas.
Is it a Temptress? Because they
do, but in this case, we're going to be tempted by their Muy Importante Margarita Lager. Ooh. And in case you're not proficient in Spanish, that stands for much importante.
Nice.
So just, clear that up for you.
Mucho.
From a little brewery in Milton, Delaware called Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. We'll be tasting their Mandarin and Mango Crush, which is
sounds amazing.
A short-term limited release for summer. And then from right here in Houston, Texas, from 11 Below Brewing,
They make great beers.
We have their 2023 Big Mistake Imperial Stout.
I love that.
Nice.
We had the 2021 on several months ago. We had a can of that we were able to get in here. And I actually thought this was the 2022, and I looked at it right before the show. I was like, oh, this is the 2023. This is brand new. So, so
Nice.
I think I have
excited
a
about that.
2021 in the fridge.
Nice.
And we also have a mystery beverage, which I've taken the liberty of pouring. And maybe you guys can pass those around.
Sir?
Dark.
Yes, a dark mystery beverage, which I thought would be kind of interesting for this particular week. So this is where we'll taste it and talk about it before I tell you what it is. Our last mystery beverage was a vodka vodka cocktail peach can drink, which we weren't all that impressed with.
We're not.
Yeah.
Ready?
We also had the mystery beverage that was the Carbuck non-alcoholic, which just tasted like hop water.
Yeah. It was not bad, but
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
You think it was not bad?
It wasn't bad.
This smells like sweet.
It was a hell of a lot better than a St. Pauli girl.
And a little
Sweet,
bit of caramel.
yeah, vanilla caramel.
Yep.
But once you get
It
in
doesn't
there,
have a huge nose on it, though.
No.
because the body is not there either.
Talk amongst yourselves. So I'm going to go get the bottle so I can show
Oh,
you.
you left the bottle out there. Gotcha.
Yes.
Wow. It's
Very thin.
an incredibly thin mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Not viscous at all. There's not
There's
a lot going
there's
on.
not a lot of body to it, like you said.
And I feel like everything dies out. Like at the moment
quickly.
it touches,
Quickly. I'm just glad it's not Malort.
I think I know what it is.
Gentlemen, you are drinking a Yuengling Black and Tan. So,
So it's not a bad flavor. It's a very thin mouthfeel.
yeah.
Definitely not a bad flavor at all. But
I've actually had this before and enjoyed it. I didn't realize it was as dark as this because it's in a dark bottle. So I don't think I've ever had it out of a glass. So it was kind of misleading by the sight.
We had it at my house when we did crawfish,
Yeah, I
and we drank
remember.
quite a few of them, but they were ice cold straight out of the
Super
fridge.
ice cold, yeah.
And
Your fridge, if you were to bump it up by like 13 parts of a degrees, it would actually just be freezing.
My beer fridge, I keep it nice and cold too, but I always have trouble with. It's got this little tiny freezer in the top, and it always like ices up.
You got to
underneath
de-ice that every once in a while.
Yeah, I
know
hate
those.
doing that.
yeah, so my small fridge, the little black one that's out back for all of my craft, which is mostly stouts and porters,
Right.
it's not all the way down. It's up so that I try and keep it around 47, 48.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So it's
It's drinkable.
yeah.
it is.
This
I
is
like it.
kind of a crushable dark. It looks scarier than it is.
You would
This
think
is
it's a
pretty-
stout or something from the
Yeah.
or a porter, and then
That's why I was judging it with my eyes earlier.
yeah.
I find the concept of because when I think of a Black and Tan, I think one that you order at a bar where it's half
Yeah.
and then half sitting on top of it. But this is a Black and Tan
Who
all
made
mixed
that?
together.
Who made that Mississippi mud one that was out for a lot of years? It used to come in kind of an interesting, look like a clay jug. My dad loved that one.
Oh, it was not like a cocodrile or something.
I can't remember. Who
It came in like the old
Yeah.
yeah,
It looked
the-
like an old.
juke jug that you would
Yeah.
blow into.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't turn it down if someone offered me that.
It's
at a bar.
drinkable.
Drinkable.
Yeah. So okay.
Crushable.
Well, I really wanted to. A lot of times, it seems like when I do a mystery beverage, Ian, it's almost like I'm trying to trick you. You know, like get you with something that may not be all that good.
So
or
I actually don't worry about it that much
Yeah.
because like you won't go out and buy Malort.
right. That's not going to happen.
Like you just won't do it.
Ian's mystery beverage was Malort, and then his mystery beverage again was Malort.
Oh, and don't forget about the third time when I brought barrel-aged
Barrel-aged.
Malort.
Yeah.
Also, on the label it says BAM.
Bam.
Barrel-aged Malort.
Yep. Yeah, you know that old saying still holds true though. Malort me once, shame on you. Malort me twice. Who was it? George W. Bush that said, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, fool me won't get fooled again." That was one of the famous quotes there. So, all right. So we got a lot to get to on today's program. I think the first thing we should probably do is I should ask Ian if you've had an opportunity to smoke anything
I
interesting. This
did.
week.
I actually met up with some friends today over at Casa. Friends being the gentleman sitting here. I selected a cigar for my review, but I didn't smoke that one because I was up there paying for it. And Steve goes, "Hey, have you tried the new Avo Seasons?" I said, "No. Tell me about it." And he goes, "Well, it's interesting. I really liked it." He goes, "There's flavors in there that I didn't really expect nor know how to describe. I said, okay, well, lay it on me. And of course, it's $18. Damn it, man.
Got you again.
They're good over there. They're good at the casa.
So I grabbed it. This is Avo Seasons Spring 2023. The shape is a diadema. Mm-hmm. Okay, which is basically a large figurado. 6 5/8 by 50 to be precise. It's the wrapper is Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper, Dominican binder, Dominican filler. It's a gorgeous cigar. It's absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous tan Corojo wrapper with white and silver Avo band. Super classy looking. A secondary spring season band on there. Wrapper is veiny and feels like oiled leather. Firm feel overall. The pre-light sniff on this, fresh earth, leather, floral, and salt air. The pre-light draw on this, you know that salt air, like when you're going down to Galveston, that smell. It's just that sea smell. The pre-light draw on this, I used a clip. It had a very tight draw, but it is a tapered foot, so I kind of expected that. Sweet earth and leather, campfire, and some gentle fruit notes on the nose. The initial light, earth and floral bomb, backed by a little bit of white pepper and sea salt. Retrohale is sweet cedar and white pepper. First third on the cigar, sweet cedar and dandelion. So here's a funny thing. You might go, how do you know what dandelion tastes like? Well, because my sister sent me some dandelion jelly.
Oh. Okay.
And
well,
so it's got a very particular flavor.
They
That's
do
kind of
weird
what I got from
things
this.
with jelly.
Sweet cedar and
Yeah.
dandelion, earth and leather, fresh cut hay and sweet coffee, gentle sea salt aftertaste. The aftertaste was really, really interesting on this. I really enjoyed it. The retrohale is sweet cedar and floral with a kiss of white pepper. Solid ash, good burn. The second third of the cigar enter a creamy quality and more floral notes, woody and earthy. Massive sweet smoke with each puff. Retrohale is sweet cedar and white pepper. Solid ash, perfect burn. The last third of the cigar, loads of sweet cedar and dandelion, if you haven't got that yet. Slightly bitter coffee and sea salt happening. A little toast flavor kind of comes in here in a very, very wonderful way. Tangy leather and fresh cut hay. Retrohale is sweet cedar and coffee with white pepper. Solid ash, good burn. $18 for this thing.
Okay.
It burned for a solid hour, and I was puffing on it like a madman. It was delicious. It was fantastic the whole way through. It gets a solid 5. It's worth every bit of the $18.
So for $18, that's kind of a big deal.
It's good like Plasencia Almafuerte is good. It's that kind of good. It's worth every bit of its
That's a big
flavor.
deal.
Now it's a very different cigar from that, so don't get that wrong. But and if you want a really prime like special occasion cigar, but you're not a cigar smoker that likes a big heavy cigar, this is great. It comes in at a solid, just barely into medium, and the pepper notes are all really nice and friendly. It's a beautiful cigar. Love it.
So I'll tell you about my cigar coming up in the next segment, but I wanted to ask you, Alan, as somebody who has worked both for a cigar company and has worked managing a retail outlet, what is, in your mind, the sort of cutoff to where most customers won't spend more than X dollars on a single cigar?
$11.99.
No kidding. You really already knew that answer, didn't you?
It's not even that's it. We tried, unless it's ultra, I don't want to say ultra premium, but really premium like that.
Right.
Few and far between in the humidor.
Yeah, for sure. And few and far between in my humidor as well.
Right.
We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. I'll tell you about my cigar for this week. And then we'll be getting underway with our bottom shelf bourbon blind taste test. And by blind, we mean that's what we're going to likely be by the end of the show. So we'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
And Twix bars.
Smoking and Toasting is heard every week on great radio stations around the world, like News Talk 1560, Abilene, Texas.
I love that.
Yeah, so you may remember this, Ian. We were talking about this last week. That they'd reached out, and we're on other radio stations. That's the only one I've been told about.
Right.
And the reason I know about this one is because the station manager there actually reached out to me first through Smoking and Toasting, and I connected him up with the syndication company, and my understanding is now we're on. But he was the one who told us that his competitor across the street had a cigar show on, but he thought it was a little too refined. And that was his words. And I told him he had absolutely nothing to worry about with smoking
pretentious.
toasters.
Do we know who that is? I just want to listen to him. I want to see what they got going on.
You know what? We should. I don't, but we should definitely find out.
We should find out. I like to think though that because we don't know what other markets we're on, there's like whole cities that have like pickets out in front about boycotting our show.
Yeah.
In front of radio stations that we don't know about.
If your show is too refined, does that mean you smoke your cigar with the pinky in the air like this?
When in doubt, pinky out.
We drink our beer with a pinky out.
Absolutely right. Speaking of smoking a cigar, pinky out or not, I had an interesting one this week. I smoked the Perdomo Reserve 10th anniversary sun-grown Robusto.
Nice.
Now, I get confused easily. That's a true general statement, but more specifically, I get confused by the way many cigar makers choose to name and date their cigars. Rocky Patel makes great cigars, but I can never remember whether the date that's in the name of some of them is the year they were made, or the year the tobacco was planted, or if it's been a decade, or 55 years.
They have a 90, they have a 92, they have a 99, they have a 55.
Exactly. So for today's show, I'm confused about a Perdomo Reserve 10th anniversary sun-grown Robusto, which was apparently, and I'm not making this up, released to celebrate 20 years of the Reserve line being on the market. So if you can figure that math out, please help me.
That's new math.
Let me know.
Guess what their 20 was made to represent?
What?
10 years in the industry.
Oh, well, there you go. See? I was told when we started the show there would be no math. So I'm already I'm already more confused than I should be. Anyway, the cigar is a Nicaraguan Puro using a sun-grown wrapper leaf that was aged for 10 months. There's another time statement in bourbon barrels and all Nicaraguan binder and filler tobacco. It's dark brown in color, nicely rolled with a slight box press shape and a colorful, shiny red, black, and gold band that's kind of iridescent. That covers about half the cigar. The pre-light sniff gave me rich fermented tobacco notes, some earth, and a touch of applewood, which I only know what that smells like because
you live in Texas.
And because I've used it grilling before. Mm-hmm. It has a certain very specific vibe to it. Anyway, so far so good. I used a torch to light it up. I was expecting the Nicaraguan pepper blast because it's a Puro after all. But instead, I got toast, earth, and wood notes in the first third of the cigar. I also had it pegged to be medium to full, but it was more like on the mild side of medium, at least at first. Earth and wood continued to dominate the second third, although a little bit of pepper did start to creep in, and a note of baking spice as well. By the final third, the pepper moved to the forefront, and the Reserve 10th Anniversary Sun-Grown settled into a medium-bodied lane. Subtle hits of baking spice and a light sweetness balanced out the pepper to keep it from becoming a pepper bomb. The burn was good throughout, no relights or touch-ups needed, and I got the sense that the ash would have held on for quite a while if I'd let it. I'm very wary of doing that, as you know. Overall, I really enjoyed the Perdomo Reserve 10th Anniversary Sun-Grown. It didn't become my new favorite cigar, but it didn't disappoint me either. Makes it a little bit tough to rate, but in the end, at $9 to $10 per stick, I feel like it delivered well enough to merit a 5 on the price to quality index scale.
Perdomo's always pretty solid, man.
And for those of you who are maybe hearing the first show for the first time, like in Abilene, our price to quality is a 1 to 10 scale, but a 5 means you feel like you got what you paid for.
Yes.
And so if it's above 5, you feel like, wow, I wouldn't have been disappointed even if it had cost more. And if it's below 5, it could still be very good, but maybe just wasn't quite worth the price tag. So that's the way that sounds
really, and that's why when I reviewed the $18 cigar and it gets a 5, that's a great rating for an $18 cigar.
It absolutely is.
When you're getting
that's a rave.
What you paid for in an $18 cigar, that's a great cigar.
Right. You guys ready to taste some bourbons?
Hell yeah.
Are we? So we're going to do that starting in our next segment. The Bottom Shelf Bourbon Blind Taste Test is on Smoking and Toasting number 331. We'll be right back.
Ooh, here we go.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Heard all over the world, and we appreciate you being a part of the audience. We're going to drink the bottom shelf bourbon for you and tell you what to expect, and you know, where some of this might be a pleasant
I hope
surprise.
you appreciate it. We're going to taste all these so you don't have to.
Yes, that's right. Which reminds me, the last time we did something rather like this was when, during the early part of the pandemic, when we were trying to do the show over Skype, which turned out to not be a great thing because internet connections are just
difficult. Yes.
it can be difficult. But I remember one week we did cigar malt whiskey.
Oh, so
And
good.
and I went and bought a bottle of cigar malt.
You did.
And I poured half of it into a Sprite bottle, I think, for Ian.
You did.
And left it for him so he could pick it up. And then Ian provided the drinks for the next week's show.
I did.
Which was the malt liquor blind taste test.
I want to point something out.
Yeah.
Like, when you provided the drinks, you went out and bought one bottle
Yeah.
and gave me a portion of it.
Yes.
I went out and bought you multiple bottles.
This is a good point.
And I was going to make it actually a gift basket. That would have
Yeah.
been amazing because
The real result, though, of that show is I wound up with a condition that I'd never had before. It's a condition, I don't know if there's a name for it, but it is the fear of burping. Because that was nasty. So I think today's going to be much better, but we'll get to that.
I mean,
in a
come on,
moment.
is it worse than Greek food burps?
I don't know.
I mean, like, I love
malt,
Greek food.
malt
but
liquor
Greek
burps.
food
Malt
burps
liquor
are pretty
burps are
bad.
about as bad as it gets, I think. Maybe Malort burps. I don't know. Fortunately, I didn't drink enough Malort to be able to burp it, so that's good.
I
But
think
who
you're gonna
knows?
have
You
to
could.
do that.
You could. All right. So our guests, Alan Denny and Roberto Rivas Villar. We have our first whiskey in hand, and thanks, by the way, to Terry, our engineer, who's doing double duty by pouring. So we don't know what this is, but it's the first of 12 bottom shelf whiskeys. What do you got?
It smells like whiskey.
It does smell like whiskey. In fact, it
There's-
smells like a dive bar whiskey. You know what I mean? Like,
It smells
very
like
young.
smells like the drink mat.
yeah, exactly.
It actually doesn't smell that bad. It does smell, like you said, a little young, a little
I
green to
mean,
me.
just by looking at it, I can tell it's a young bourbon.
I tell you what, though, it's not bad.
No, it's hot.
Yeah, it's got a little kick to it. I get a little bit of that cinnamon and a
Yep.
little bit of the
Cinnamon.
what do you call it? Just the malt from the mash.
Yeah.
You can get a little bit of that in there.
There's an aftertaste though that's not very good.
Pleasant.
Yes, I agree.
It's a very kind of like I just went to the dentist kind of aftertaste.
The finish is not bad, but then what follows is not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that.
All right, so.
not bad.
So guys, make notes because we're gonna do 4 of these, and you'll have to rank them 1 through 4 based on. So I kind of do like little arrows, like sideways or down or up, depending on how much I like it. And then Terry, let's do number 2. This will be bourbon, bottom shelf bourbon, number 2. And Ian told us that when he went out and shopped for these, nothing is over $15 for the bottle.
Nothing.
Correct?
Not a single one.
All right, very good. So here comes, that was A, this is B. No, I'm not getting much on the nose on
I
this
gotta
one
tell
at
you,
all.
like,
No.
okay, this may scare you, but I smell soap.
Oh,
It almost has a soapy smell to it.
you know, it reminds me of that time that I brought that stout in and it had gone kind of bad, and you said the word soy sauce, and then all I could
That's
smell
all you
or
could
taste
taste.
was soy sauce after that. So now I'm probably only going to taste soap.
I don't taste soap. This is enjoyable. A little bit of burn, but I like it.
It's
I agree. It's not bad.
It's not bad at all. And I kind of have this tastes familiar.
This is B.
the aftertaste on this is a very whiskey-like
And-
aftertaste.
yeah.
It's
I know-
not. There's
and I
nothing
know-
off-putting about the flavor.
and you don't really get the soap
There's a
in the flavor.
charcoal bitter happening overall, but not in a bad way.
I'm not getting. You know how you always pick up something. You pick up vanilla or. I'm just tasting
This tastes.
whiskey.
This,
Right,
Yeah.
it's like straight whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
a little bit. It is a little bit hotter in terms. I know this is not 80 proof.
It's kind of like they passed it over the barrel.
No, I would put this at 90, even maybe close to
Yeah,
100.
probably. And it kind of reminds me of the Heaven Hill mash bills.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. Let's go to C. That was B, and here comes C. And I noticed that none of us is being shy about leaving some in the cup.
Oh, no, I'm doing my Infinity Cup just like Ian is doing.
We got
too.
the Infinity Cup going on over here.
Yeah, very good.
So I'm doing an Infinity Cup down here and stuff I want to revisit up here so that it doesn't get...
Oh, look at you being all smart and
yeah,
stuff.
you know.
All right, this is whiskey C.
I don't get any
I don't no nose at all. Even less than B.
It just smells like my beard.
which smells like bad dreams and tears.
There's a tear in my beer. Okay.
This
Extremely
has
straightforward.
almost no flavor to it as well.
Is thin.
It's
This-
thin and watery.
Yeah.
It's very thin and watery,
It's inoffensive, but it doesn't do much.
but it doesn't taste bad at all.
Right.
No, it's
But there's
not
nothing
bad,
about it that's
but
bad,
There's
right.
nothing
I just
to this.
us that we drink kind of like higher proof stuff. This
Right.
is, I mean,
Yeah, this kind of feels like you watered it down a bit.
Yeah.
This is, however, drinkable.
it is very drinkable.
You know, here's the problem with this. It's so drinkable. This could mess you up quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I'm
But you know what? On
Unless
flavor
it's 7
profile,
proof.
I think that's my favorite so far. On just like on the flavor notes.
I hear you. Because there's nothing about this that's not pleasant.
Yeah.
You know?
My only complaint is the thinness of it.
it would
All right.
definitely not be a good mixer because there wouldn't be enough.
You wouldn't have any
Right.
flavor.
You wouldn't get enough of the whiskey
Yeah, you wouldn't
flavor.
get enough bite to make it make sense.
That'd be a sidecar that lost a wheel.
Although it does have some good pepper in it.
Yeah, there's a little tiny bit of a pepper
Yeah.
tang on the finish. I agree.
Better nose.
Yeah,
Sure.
you get a little
There's
bit
a
of caramel
cinnamony
on the,
kinda
and
nose.
cinnamon on the
I
nose.
get some
yeah.
caramel.
And a honey kind of thing on
Oh
this.
yeah.
Yes.
This is gonna sound. This is comfortable.
Good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't make me think, top shelf,
No, definitely not.
but it's definitely drinkable, and like you said, it's easy.
This tastes to me another year in a barrel, and it would be fantastic.
Also, I think this has the proof that I need to be comfortable drinking.
Right.
It
Yep.
has a good flavor profile. It has that caramel that we were talking about. It seems to have a good age. I think this one my favorite from this.
All right, so
sure.
gentlemen, take a look at your notes and then rank these based on the 4. What is your number 1, 2, 3, and 4? We'll go over everybody's ranking and then we'll find out what these actually were. So, Ian, I'll start with you.
So oddly enough, I'm just gonna go straight backwards on my list. My favorite was the last one we had, a little cinnamon, a little
This is
honey.
D.
So D, and then number 2 for me is watery with very little flavor, but nothing off-putting. That's C.
Right.
Basic whiskey with bitter charcoal on the aftertaste. That's B, and A, which I put meh and bad aftertaste.
So you went DCBA just right in reverse order. What about you, Alan?
So I just had a little flip in there. It's A and D the exact same. D was my favorite, and A was not.
D,
but
so D was your favorite.
I just flipped the other two. I liked B just a little more because it was just a little more heat to it. Not that 3 was horrible, but
Roberto?
I think for me it's the same order as it was like D was my first one favorite because it had my favorite flavor. Well, it had a very good flavor profile. And it has a proof that I like.
Yep.
Not necessarily the one that I would go for, but it's the best one. Second one with the C it was when I tried. It was like best flavor so far. I didn't have the proof that I wanted, but it had the best flavor profile. Then B was the third one. Good hit from proof. That one is the one that I say was very familiar. It reminds me of something that I've had, and
Before, yeah.
it's very. You know what? Even C also reminds me of something that might be familiar, very familiar to me. It almost seems like the wheated bourbon family, but I don't think it is because it's
So you went DCBA.
DCBA. Yeah.
It's exactly the order that Ian put his in. And interestingly enough, I put mine in the exact same order as Alan.
well, we all hated A and we all liked D.
Yeah. So I went D, B, C, A. So let's start with D. Terry, what was whiskey number D? Because it was the one we all seemed to like the best.
Benchmark. I can see it from
Benchmark.
here.
Yeah.
Benchmark. All right,
No
so
wonder
pass
why.
that around.
And that new series is amazing.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what, the high proof is absolutely fantastic in that.
Yeah. So, what would a bottle of high proof?
The high proof is like $18.99.
Oh my
it's
gosh,
$125.
They had a whole series of them. I
Yeah.
actually bought 2 benchmarks, I
Yeah.
think, in the box. So there's
They,
another
they
benchmark
have
sneaker on
the
in there.
bottled in bond, top floor, foolproof,
Yeah.
and something else.
Whiskey C was the one that Alan and I rated third out of the 4. These two guys
Aha!
rated
Ancient
first.
Age.
I knew it was
That was Ancient Age. That was the one that I brought. And as you can see, I've consumed a lot of this at home. So I made a real dent in the bottle.
I knew that was also a familiar taste, and that's Buffalo Trace.
Yeah. So right, the same mash bill as Buffalo Trace,
As
right?
Blanton's.
As Blanton's. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep,
you
yep.
mentioned that tasted very familiar.
All right. What
when you were
was
tasting
whiskey B? I ranked it second. Alan ranked it second. These
Fighting
guys
Cock.
ranked it third. Fighting Cock.
Yep.
Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, and there is the bottle.
So that's Heaven Hill. That's
Yeah.
will become or could be very similar to Elijah
So it is
Craig.
Heaven Hill.
Okay. Yeah. That's a Heaven Hill. All right. And D was the one we all ranked last.
JTS Brown sounds like a trucking service.
Oh my god.
Yes, Brown. Okay. Well, there you does sound like a
You know, I
trucking
had
service.
never tried that
Or
one.
like
I haven't
a
either.
That's one of those
like
bottles, when you pick it up, you can just kind of feel that it's not going to be good.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like what is that company that delivers office supplies? That's what it reminds me of.
JTS
right?
Brown.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what it reminds me of.
JT&S
So.
Brown's Son Company.
Remember how much that one was again?
Barst.
Oh, somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
maybe 12.
12, okay. All right, so we all
I think that was one of the cheaper ones, so that was probably right like 9 or 10.
so we all ranked
Sparks
that
one.
last of the 4, and we all ranked D first, which was again the one, the benchmark. So pretty good first round, guys. I think we,
crispy can noise.
yeah, we love these sound effects here at Smoking a Toast, and we pay prime.
Every time
dollar
you hear us
sound
open
effects.
a can of beer, we're actually using a can of beer
Yeah.
to make that sound effect.
It's a pretty cool thing that we do.
It's an
here
important
on
thing. We
Smoking
want
a
to make
Toast.
sure that our sound effects are authentic. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we have to drink said beer.
Yeah.
That is, by the way, incredibly carbonated.
And there's some sound effects that go along with that too. So this is from Lakewood Brewing Company out of Garland, Texas. As Ian mentioned, their Temptress series is a wonderful,
it's so good.
wonderful series
Love
of
it.
beers. But they're obviously bigger beers. This is something much lighter. It's their Margarita Lager, and I will tell you, most Margarita lagers that I've had, I don't think are that good. Like it's something
No, because they're
they
putting
kind of
that lime-
try
Yeah,
for
it's
a
It tastes very
taste.
artificial.
Yeah.
It's that artificial lime flavor that's so
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
They use citric acid and malic acid and stuff like that.
And it
probably.
smells like Fabuloso. If you're not familiar with
not
Fabuloso, that is a
It
industrial
I've never tasted Fabuloso, but it
cleaning detergent.
Well, if you remember when we did the light beer blind taste test, the Bud Light Lime,
tastes like it.
that was the one you kept saying was the only one that had flavor. And I said,
It
yeah, but
was.
the flavor's like a floor cleaner or a furniture
This smells
polish.
like that.
I've never tasted Flor like Fabuloso, but I think that's what it would taste
I
like.
think you just have.
I thought, I actually thought Fabuloso was a wrestler. Am I right? I thought he was like a Mexican wrestler that wears one of those,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could
this
be
is-
the Fabuloso and then the last Fabuloso Rivas.
This is
Not good.
horrible.
Yeah, I don't like it. I really don't like it. I loved
The thing is,
what it looked like in the
it has
can,
that
right?
kind of like citrusy, industrial floor cleaner kind of smell. But when you taste it, it tastes just like it smells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has an industrial floor cleaner type of taste. So, it's actually not that often here on Smoking a Toastin' that we taste a beer and decide that just unilaterally
Unanimously,
we
right.
don't like it. Usually if Ian's not crazy about it, I'll think it's okay, or vice versa.
It says our classic Mexican style lager is enhanced with agave, orange, lime, and sea salt.
Mm-hmm.
I just if you're a fan of stuff like this, maybe you like it, but it's ooh.
Yeah, I'm not that.
This
into
would be
it
very
either.
safe in my fridge.
If you're going for a Mexican lager, you got to go with Scout.
Scout is amazing.
It is from
The one from
from True Anomaly.
From True Anomaly, thank you.
They make good stuff.
All their beers are good. That is the best Mexican lager I've ever had. It's really, really wonderful.
So good.
Speaking of Mexican lager, by the way, if the Bud Light boycott continues to impact the sales of Bud Light, there's a prediction that the number one selling beer in America will become Modelo
Really?
Especial.
Yeah.
Wow.
Think about that while we take a break. And
Still a better beer.
It is, actually. I'll drink one of those. We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, our show, again, all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're glad to have you here. So I don't know if you guys know this, but the next Avengers movie is going to be called Infinity Cup, Avengers Infinity Cup. And what we determined during the break, Roberto was the first one to mention this, is that the Infinity Cup, which is where everybody's pouring all their leftover bottom shelf whiskeys, that actually tastes better than any of the individual whiskeys did.
Yep.
It's actually not, and Ian poured me some. It's actually not bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I don't know what that tells you, because I wouldn't expect that would work with any other tasting we've ever done. You know? And it's kind of weird that it worked with this one, but anyway, it is what it is. So Ian's pouring our next beer, which is going to be an interesting one, I think. It's from Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. It's their Mandarin and Mango Crush. While he does that, I want to tell you about some cigars to watch for that are coming out, and this is our all Connecticut edition of cigars to watch for. Musician and cigar maestro Rafael Nadal, who's one of the owners of Aging Room Cigars, is taking a lighter approach to his latest cigar. It's the Cuatro Nicaragua Sonata, and it started shipping this week. Nadal is a musician. He's a violinist and pianist, and he's once again teamed up with, I don't know, some guy named AJ Fernandez to
Who's
create
that guy
this
know
cigar.
about cigars?
Yeah, to create this cigar version of a sonata that pays tribute to Nicaragua and its people. Nadal says that Beethoven's Moonlight and other sonatas from Mozart, Schubert, Chopin, and Rachmaninoff are among his favorites, and that was the inspiration for the Sonata cigar. It runs in the neighborhood of $13 to $14, depending on the size of it. And Aganorsa Leaf is also going lighter and also going Connecticut with their Anniversario line. The Anniversario Connecticut, which will come draped in a light Ecuador Connecticut cover leaf, will debut at the PCA Trade Show in Las Vegas. It was rolled at the Aganorsa Leaf factory in Nicaragua, and all the tobacco used in the blend other than the wrapper were grown there. And it features a pair of Criollo 98 binder leaves from Esteli, and the fillers are a mix of Corojo from both Jalapa and Esteli. So all of that caps off with Ashton, La Aroma de Cuba, which is a cigar series I really, really like.
Yeah.
They are now releasing a new light Connecticut seed wrapper cigar, appropriately called La Aroma de Cuba Connecticut, and they begin shipping to retailers like today. So,
Well, they didn't reach far for the name, but I will
Yeah.
tell you that their cigars are pretty damn good.
yeah, they really are. So it seems like there's kind of an explosion of Connecticut cigars coming out. And Alan, as somebody that ran a cigar shop for quite some time,
I did.
Are Connecticut leaf cigars, do they sell better? Are they the big sellers?
I can't
or?
say better, but there's a resurgence. So
Yeah.
for a long time, through the late 90s, through the boom, and then into the early 2000s, people were all about Connecticut's. And somewhere around 04, 05, people like Ernesto de Picarillo, the Fuentes, LFD, everybody jumped on this bandwagon of bigger
doing
and bolder.
Bigger and bolder, yep.
And so they started doing that, and they started with just the strongest, most ridiculous
I remember like the Ligero,
stuff. Yeah.
the chisel. Remember the chisel?
And then they were double Ligero, triple Ligero, and they were just getting ridiculous. And then it hit a point where
That LFD Triple Ligero.
Oh, it's
amazing.
yeah, the Camacho triple Maduro
Maduro, yes,
is,
so
good,
is fantastic.
yeah.
It's double Ligero.
I think in that note, my favorite one in that category was Rocky Patel Super Ligero, which
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
making
Oh,
more.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good cigar.
And
That's
then
a
we
really
haven't
good
even
cigar.
gotten into like Roma Craft and some of the ones that they're blending to do that. And what happened is it hit a peak, and that was probably around 2019, and people like Ernesto will tell you it was too much,
Yeah.
and so they started
Started
tapering
leveling off,
back,
right,
and it's leveled off. And
My-
I want to say half the cigars in most humidors now are a Connecticut wrapper or a Connecticut binder.
It's interesting because to me, I kind of landed in the medium to full range is where my sort of sweet spot is. But every now and then I like to have a big full cigar, and every now and then it's nice to have something lighter and toastier too. So
But with flavor, the problem
Right.
for a while was people were putting out the Connecticut's were like super mild, you got
super
no
bland,
flavor.
yeah.
But now they're tapering off. One of the best out there is My Father Connecticut.
oh yeah, it's
Double
really good.
binder. It's got a Nicaraguan binder and an Ecuadorian Habano binder with the
good.
yeah.
Speaking of flavor, and we'll come back to this in the next segment.
This is
It
amazing.
This
smells
is
so good.
exploding with flavor.
Yeah.
This is the
This is-
Dogfish head. It's the Mandarin and Mango Crush.
This is a redemption right here from
Yeah.
the last.
I think yes, right. It redeems the last beer. This is wonderful. We'll talk a little more about it when we come back. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we still have more bottom shelf bourbon to taste. Stand by.
Bottom shelf bourbon.
And welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Before we get into the next round of blind bottom shelf bourbon tasting, we got to talk about this beer.
Holy
the
cow.
beer that
Man.
Ian poured us in the last segment, and we didn't get to talk about it much before the end of the segment. But this Dogfish head, Mandarin and Mango Crush, is fantastic.
Amazing.
Freaking
We're
awesome.
all just kind of going crazy
Part
over
of the
here.
2023 Off-Centered Art Series. This artist
Right.
is Natalia Balanova.
So
Balanova.
they do this every year at
great,
Dogfish
yeah,
Head.
the artwork
They
on
get
here.
these crazy art cans, and they do a beer that matches up with them. And this one,
This is-
my biggest disappointment about this beer is that it's not going to be like a permanent.
This,
addition
yeah,
to
this
Yeah.
is
the line.
Mandarin and Mango
We need to
Crush
get
ale,
some of that.
ale with Mandarin orange, mango, and other natural flavors. Comes in at 6%, and it is outrageously good.
We like to say the Smoking and Toasting does directly impact sales, and it will be doing that today because I'll be picking up more of this on the way
I'm
home.
going looking for
Yes.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
I feel like the mango and mandarin combination, the citrus and the mango, give you a passion fruit taste.
100%. And you know what's interesting about this is it's not the same sort of mango and citrusy flavor as you get like with a good hazy IPA. This is very different.
Yeah.
It's
It's
very
just very natural,
Yeah,
very like
it's
essence
supernatural.
of-
right, right.
I'm sorry,
surreal.
good and IPA in the same sentence. That doesn't mesh.
So this
you know,
confuses you.
Yes.
yeah. I understand your confusion, but one day you too will see the light. It happens to all of us.
I got what you said.
Yeah. Okay. See, it's just Alan.
More cowbell.
More
I stopped listening about 2
it's
seconds.
Great beer. Our guests are Roberto, Rivas, Villar, and our good friend Alan Denny. And we are glad to have you guys both on the show as we do our bottom shelf bourbon tasting.
Way down low. Bottom
Yeah.
shelf.
So we did 4 in a previous segment. We're going to do 4 in this segment again. So let's get started. It's already been passed around with bourbon A.
Cheers,
All right,
gentlemen.
this one smells good.
Oh,
This one smells nutty.
This nose is fantastic.
It
This one
actually does
smells
smell really good.
nice right off the bat.
Very nice right off the yeah, I agree.
It's got quite a bit of flavor.
Oh, it tastes good too.
Yeah.
Oh,
What is this?
there's a fruity thing going on in there.
Yeah.
Dark cherry.
Dark cherry and a little bit of that caramel.
Yep.
Oh.
And it's
Kinda on the
like
top.
for being such a young bourbon, it has a lot of flavor.
Yeah, it's lighter in color than quite a few of the other ones. This one is.
It's not viscous. It's thin, but the flavor is
Right.
Is
The
there.
mouth feels a little
It's fruity.
wanting, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Very like-
I think that in the under $15 category, we're going to find a few little
It
caveats.
certainly does strike you as young.
Yeah.
But that's about all that I could say negatively about
No,
it. And
there's
even that
nothing-
is not that negative.
I would
you know?
totally drink this. Like
Yeah, there's a slight young flavor to it, but it's not. I don't think it's detracting.
I'm
At all.
wondering because
Totally agree. All right, that was a very interesting starting point. We'll see how the rest of them stack up as we move on to Bourbon B.
Wow, now Terry's getting chintzy with the whiskey.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, the first round he went
thought he was
with
going this
big,
way.
deep pours. So
Did y'all get him an eyedropper? Is that what's going on? He's pouring with. Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go.
Now my infinity cup is starting to suffer.
I'd be
You're gonna have
happy to
bump this
fill it up
just a
for you
touch.
if you'd like.
Hey, we pour more pappy than this at the social.
yeah, that's a good comparison, actually. Okay. Gosh, this is
Not much nose on it.
yeah.
There's not a lot of body to this
the
one.
nose is right away very, very astringent and very acetone-like.
Yeah.
Oh, the aftertaste is bad.
Is this suffering to any degree because it came after the one that we
it's
just had?
No, it's just bad.
It's just bad. Okay.
Oh, bad.
Yeah.
This has a lot of.
I think we all agree this one's not a good whiskey.
Bad whiskey.
Bad whiskey.
Oh.
Bad.
bad.
All right, let's go with C there, Terry.
Here we go.
All right, he's still pouring. So we went through that one pretty quick. It's okay. Bad.
No one wanted to ruminate on
Y'all
that
didn't
one.
have much to say there.
All right, so
There
here
was
we go.
nothing
No one did much
redeeming.
ruminating
Passing
on that one.
around whiskey C. So it was fairly clear everybody liked A, nobody liked B. Now it's time for C.
Well,
Good
so
nose.
this one has a far superior nose than the
Yeah.
last one.
What was it you said,
Oh, this one has
Roberto?
like, tastes
you
like
said,
apple.
you said acetone.
Apples.
Acetone
the other
was
one,
the word
it
you
was
used,
very
But then-
acetone-like.
which is kind of like nail polish.
I don't think I'm
or
happy
rubber.
with the aftertaste on this one either.
I tasted the apple right away.
Yes, you can
It has
definitely
a,
get
it
a
has
bit
a
of
real
that.
pleasant taste right up front,
But
the aftertaste
finish
is
is not
kind
great.
of lingering.
This
sad.
is-
caramels and apples together.
But it's almost like apple flavored. I know it's
Yeah.
not, but it's almost like there's that,
Like if it was like a crown apple.
just not that intense because
Yeah.
that shit is horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, crap, we can't cuss. My
Oh,
bad.
yep. So now Adam's going to have to do a little edit on you there.
Wow.
So
I forgot syndication can't.
yeah, radio syndication.
He's
Can't-
going to have to listen to the
can't
whole
swear
episode.
anymore. And I think that's why actually Chris Hart has not been on in a long time, because when he comes on our show, he's dropping F-bombs from like the opening music, and I don't understand because he doesn't do that on his own show.
So let me tell you something you may not know. Did you know that Chris Hart is no longer in the top 4% of all podcasts?
Oh, I did not know that.
He started doing I think Seasons. And
Oh,
he
That's
hasn't,
not bad.
the new job too. He hasn't
Yeah.
done a whole lot in Chris. Yeah, I'm talking to
Interesting.
you, buddy.
Yeah. And he was booking like big comedians and all kinds of
Dude,
stuff. He
you
had
know,
great guests.
Yeah, he had William H. Macy and a bunch of other high-end.
Did he have Steve Buscemi?
No, he didn't get Buscemi. He was supposed to. There have been a bunch of people I know he was supposed to do, and then like things backed out as
Yeah.
they came in. And
Yeah, sure.
But I don't think he got
Happens.
Buscemi. That would have been great.
All right, one more whiskey
what's
in this
next?
round. Let's see what we got. This will be whiskey D, Bourbon D.
Bourbon D.
I think we.
You made a new word.
I have a feeling we're all going to kind of rank these very similarly.
Yeah.
In this one.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, you
Unless
got
this
some
one
nose
is
here.
just amazing.
This one has less nose. It has a little caramel.
Can you get any nose?
I don't get much nose.
It's a hint of caramel.
Yeah, I got a little something.
It's I don't know. I'm interested to see what the flavor is going to be.
I wish there was any flavor.
I was going to say,
anybody?
such
It's
as
like
there
iced
is.
tea.
I
It literally tastes like iced tea.
yeah.
Very, very subtle.
There's
iced.
nothing.
Wow. This is
It's relatively inoffensive, but it isn't.
So like,
There isn't much going on.
how
so
can you-
there's so after you take a sip, take a nice slow breath in, and you'll find a little bit of flavor. It's almost a chocolatey flavor.
I literally
my
just
pen
taste.
is
All I
running out.
taste is iced tea.
Yeah. I mean, I've tasted iced tea that was stronger than this.
Yeah, yeah.
I swear, like do that thing. Then take a little deep
The
breath in,
retrohale.
and then there's a little chocolate in there.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to look for it. You got to look
Dude,
for
I tried
stuff.
to retrohale with this and I got nothing.
The retrohale doesn't have much.
There's nothing.
All right. So,
So
gentlemen,
I was trying to do a retrohale and I choked, and then that's when I got a little bit of that dark chocolate,
yeah,
but not like chocolate. Don't think as like milk chocolate, as more as like the cacao bean, kind of just like a cacao nib.
Yeah.
okay, guys, let's rank them from 1 to 4. What were your favorites on down to your least.
I bet we're all close.
I have a feeling we may all be unanimous. Ian, we will start with you when you're ready.
All right, from favorite to least favorite, the very first one we did, great nose, solid flavor, is what I put down. Pretty good as far as like compared to everything else we tried.
So A is your number one.
Yes, the second one, number 2, was the one we just had. It's not much flavor, but again,
Not too offensive. Yeah.
not too offensive.
So
It was pretty close
AD.
with C.
C, yeah.
But C had a pretty good flavor right up front, kind of an apple and caramel thing right up front. But the problem is it's followed by such a bitter, like, terrible
Aftertaste, yeah.
aftertaste that it kind of kills it. And then I think we know that B, we don't talk about B.
Yeah.
This is unspeakable.
It's kind of like Fight Club.
We don't talk
The
about
first
it.
rule,
It's like
the first rule
B-
of B is you don't talk about B.
If you made me drink B again, this might be a fight
Whiskey
club.
B is a little bit like The Godfather Part 3. We
Yeah,
just
yeah.
try to
Don't-
pretend that
yeah.
it doesn't exist.
Roberto?
So, of course, number 1 was my
A, yep.
Yeah, great taste, beautiful. Second one for me was C,
C,
the one that
okay,
had
interesting.
lots of apple and caramel.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I see what Ian says, but for me was not that was not
It was not as off-putting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And 3 is gonna be letter D. Mm-hmm. And of course B's, like I don't even know how they even have that on the shelves.
Unanimously bad.
Okay, Alan.
Same thing as Roberto.
Okay,
Number
so
A.
you went A.
I went 1, 4, 2, 3. So
1,
A
4,
was the
2,
best, B was the worst, and then C and D.
And mine is identical to Ian's. I went obviously with A being my favorite, B being my least favorite, or number 4, and then I had D at 2 and C at 3. So,
We should put
again, we had two different rankings, but 2 of us ranked exactly like
Very
the
similar.
other.
If
Very
things
close.
could be ranked in a negative scale, I think B would be in the negative scale.
Is B potentially the worst non-malort beverage we've had on?
It's certainly, we've had 8 bottom shelf whiskeys so far, and it's the absolute worst of all of them
Yeah,
so far.
absolutely.
I
All right.
can't wait to see
So
what these
let's
are.
find out. A was the one that everybody loved. Terry, show us.
It.
A.
I love this
Hell yes.
name right here. Quality House.
Quality House.
Nothing says quality like
know,
Quality House.
Doesn't that sound like a bad seafood buffet?
Yes, it's awful.
So there it is. Quality
The one
House.
with the worst name.
I've
old
known
style
that-
bourbon.
That's a great bourbon, and whenever you go to Poison Girl,
Yeah.
and during their happy hour, that's what
Yeah.
they have in the well, and it's amazing.
It's really,
So,
really good.
It's
Never
funny
heard of
because I bought that because it looked so stupidly
Yes,
cheap.
I know.
Like, it looks so
Well,
bad.
it is stupidly cheap.
I love that Roberto knows that this is the well happy hour bourbon at Poison
Don't ask me
Girl,
how I know that.
which is a bar here in Houston. I love that you know that. Yeah,
This
and
is
you were
this
just
is
like
funny because
right like
that's,
that.
that's good enough right there to where I'll probably buy more of that.
It's
That's
pretty
Yeah.
amazing. And how much was it?
like the $9 to
$8 to $9.
Yeah.
yeah,
it's-
That's
something like that.
amazing.
cheap.
and it's a
Is
liter
that
bottle,
B?
right?
All right.
Old Crow.
B was the one everybody hated.
Oh,
Old
yes.
Crow. I was very interested that everyone hated
That's
that.
a Jim Beam product.
Yeah.
Wow, it is not good.
That's
Is that a Jim Beam
for you.
product? Okay.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it tastes like what an Old Crow leaves.
yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's
Old
disgusting.
Crow droppings is
Like,
is
this
probably
is this
appropriate.
is filtered through the nest of an Old Crow.
It's probably
Like,
guano.
for flavor.
You know that little drop of white on top of Old Crow? Well,
Yeah.
that's Old Crow
That's
too.
Old Crow.
They probably use I don't know. It's disgusting.
Well, it was very interesting that you say that's a Jim Beam product because
Jim Beam was number C.
C is
That
Jim
makes
Beam.
Yeah, Jim Beam straight. Yeah, so look at that. Jim Beam Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
It's funny because I've never liked Jim Beam, and that was my
Well,
third least favorite. Like,
And
it was-
I had never taken the time to pick up our Jim Beam in a way that I would taste apples and caramel in it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought
No,
to do that.
Not looking
It's
at it.
crazy.
So D, I picked it second. So did Ian. You guys picked it third.
CB Jackson.
CB Jackson. Now I've seen this. Haven't ever bought a bottle, but I have seen it. And old CB on the cover is an interesting
hey,
looking dude.
at least that looks like a decent whiskey.
It
Yeah.
does. It
It
has
looks like
it has
a-
a whiskey look to it.
It's like two brothers split, and Evan Williams was one of them, and the other one became CB Jackson.
Evan Williams had the better recipe. I think.
Apparently so. Well, this is fascinating, guys. So, out of everything we've had so far, we have been remarkably similar in how
Yeah.
we have ranked them, and I find that really interesting. It'll be interesting to me when we get to the end because we got one more round of 4 whiskeys. It'll be interesting when we get there and then do our final rankings of our top 3 favorites from the whole tasting to see how similar those are to one another. There's usually a little bit of difference. In fact, quite frankly, there's usually a little more difference in our blind taste tests than this one's showing so far, but we'll see what happens in the final round. We also have drinking news still ahead of us, and I want to read you some listener email coming up in our next segment at Smoking a Toast.
Oh, mercy.
Oh.
Oh, I like this one.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I want to read some listener email from the email bag. But while I do, Ian's going to pour. Alan Denny was kind enough to bring an extra beer today. This is an unscheduled beer, but when I saw what it was, I was like, oh, we totally have to squeeze
Look, man,
this into
Alan
the
is
show.
a stand-up guy. All we're
Yes,
giving
he
him
is.
is bad to mediocre whiskey, and
Yes.
he brings awesome beer.
Yeah, because I've had this beer, and it's wonderful.
Ingenious and the Bakery are my 2 favorite breweries by far.
This is a wonderful, wonderful beer. So Ian's going to pour that and pass it around while I want to read you an email that we got in this week.
It's way lighter than what I thought it was going to
Yeah,
be.
yeah, I know. You're expecting it to be a really dark beer.
I was expecting motor oil.
It's a white chocolate beer. You have yours, Terry. Yeah.
But the white stouts are kind of a popular thing happening.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So we got an email this week, and if you want to email us, by the way, you can send in thoughts or comments or critiques of the show. You can send in questions if you have questions about cigars or spirits or
dating advice.
craft beer or dating advice. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, no, seriously. The first email bag segment, we answered an email about dating
Oh, I
advice.
missed that show.
Yeah, the guy was worried his girlfriend was a little too materialistic because every time he took her out to eat or for drinks, she always ordered the most expensive thing on the
I
menu.
remember that.
Yeah, and
Did y'all tell him to ditch her?
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
We, in a very nice way, we said, yeah, you
Get
can
rid
do
of
better.
that.
You can do better. But today we have an email from Thalia. And Thalia writes, "Good morning, Ian and Cruz. I'm a longtime listener." And by the way, Thalia not only misspelled our name, but she misspelled the name of Christopher Hart and Alan Denny in this as well, which I love. So that lets me know that this is a totally
Thalia is a phonetic speller, that's for sure.
a totally legit email. Anyway, it says,
Thalia.
Good morning, Ian and Cruz. I'm a longtime listener, but first time to contact y'all. Congratulations on becoming syndicated."
There's a y'all in there, so Texas.
Yes. Yeah. Congratulations on becoming syndicated. It's so much easier to listen to y'all now. I do miss the live streams on Facebook, though, and we kind of miss that too. But it got to the point when we first started doing live streams on Facebook, Facebook was really busy promoting their live streaming, and so they'd put it out to everybody, right? It was on your list. It got to where they weren't recommending it to anybody.
I
and
remember
it was
at
ridiculous.
one point-
Without spending that, you could spend
Right, you
this
could
much
spend money. Yeah.
Like when we were in here and we would be, all of us
Yeah.
would have our phones.
Sure.
No one was very few people were even
Right.
coming on to see it.
Exactly. Whereas in the beginning, we had a lot of that. In
Everybody,
any case,
yeah.
we miss it too. Now we have to record the show in advance because of the syndication. But we miss it too, Thalia, and thank you for saying that. And then she says, "I do have one little complaint. Since y'all have become so much larger than life, you don't have your whiskey expert and your cigar expert on as much, barely ever.
We have a cigar expert?
Of course, I'm talking about Christopher Hart and Alan Denny. I swear to you guys, I did not make
the
this
guys
email
nobody
up.
cares about.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
thought we were the experts.
Yeah. She goes on to say, "I really liked those guys. I so look forward to the episodes they were on and the running jokes about which of them had been on more often. Well, maybe soon.
Somebody's
Hopefully
been listening
on
from way back.
hopefully on 333." And she closes by saying, "Cheers, y'all, Thalia."
Well, cheers.
Thalia.
So cheers,
Thalia.
Thalia.
y'all.
And so we're drinking this wonderful from the brewery, this white chocolate stout.
Oh, let me change to my stout.
This is
It's very delicious.
This is why we
my
had to
gosh.
pour this. We
It's
had
fruity.
to taste it. It is fruity.
The
It's
crazy
like-
part, sorry, is that you said there was no actual white chocolate. It does taste like white chocolate.
It does, but it's not actual white chocolate, so it doesn't have that aftertaste.
It doesn't have that
actual
cocoa-y, white chocolatey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bourbon barrel-aged wheat wine ale with cacao nibs and vanilla beans coming in at a paltry 14%.
Oh yeah.
Give me two of those.
Man.
What's funny is it doesn't, like, you can tell you're drinking something with some booze in it, but it doesn't taste super boozy.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
No,
But
it doesn't.
It does taste big,
Not
but it doesn't
boozy,
have
but
that
definitely
boozy.
bougie.
Yeah,
The body's
bougie.
not as big either.
It's not
Bougie.
bougie. It's
Oh
not.
my gosh.
It's not boozy. It's bougie.
Bougie.
It's
Tastes
bad
like
and
a cacao
bougie.
nips and hand-pressed vanilla
It's very
beans.
true.
This is
Laces the
good.
golden waves of this sweet wine ale with subtle sweetness reminiscent of white chocolate notes of coconut, honey, caramel, and vanilla. Intertwined
Huge thumbs up on this one.
Man,
Thank
great
you,
job.
Alan.
You're welcome.
You are
You're the bomb,
you're a
diggity bomb.
gentleman
Man,
and
so
a scholar, and we'll be right back with our final round of tastings.
In the beginning.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Today it's about bottom shelf bourbon. But before we get back to that for our final tasting segment, it's time for the most popular portion of the show. It's a little thing we like to call Drinking News.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Drinking News. And in today's Drinking News segment, I have a confession to make.
Oh.
You like Mexican pale ales?
Yeah, especially if they're Dos Equis. Oh, my God, that's the worst beer ever.
No,
it's not.
Hey,
This
that
one
beer is terrible.
No, it's worse.
Outstanding.
It's worse than that.
I mean,
than that beer.
it's outstanding in the way that, like, it's unbelievably bad.
It's outstanding in its field. Yeah, outstanding in a field surrounded by cow pies. No, my confession, you guys, and this is real. The name that you know me by is not actually my real name. In fairness,
Wait a minute.
How
So
dare
when
you.
you were born, they didn't just name you Cruz?
correct? No,
I'm shocked.
In fairness,
Cruiser?
In fairness, Cruz is my professional name. I'm not trying to imply that I'm someone that is professional, but I'm just saying that it's the name that I use in my profession. Therefore, it's my professional name, and I've been doing that for decades. But my real name, if you must know, is
Christopher Hart.
Clyde Farquhar.
Clyde Farquhar.
Yeah, it's not really, but I like to pretend that it is. Early on in my career as a radio host, it was suggested to me that Farquhar in the morning wasn't necessarily the best name for a radio show. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue. You know what I'm saying? So I've often said that the only people who actually use my real name are my mom and any police officer that happens to know.
So you always know you're in trouble if you hear
Exactly.
your real
Oh,
name.
yeah, for sure. I'll admit, I have been tempted to just use the name Cruz when I've been stopped by the police before. But seeing as it's not the one that's on my driver's license, my falsehood would be exposed pretty quickly, giving the officer plenty of reason to doubt the truth of anything else I might say, such as, "No, officer, I have not been drinking." So, but here's a little tip for you if you decide to try it. You might want to make sure that the fake name that you give to the authorities doesn't come with problems of its own.
Oh, no.
That's what happened to a Florida man.
Florida man.
Florida man was pulled over by a sheriff's deputy in Crestview. My ex-wife was from Crestview.
Oh.
Bad memories of that place. No, he was pulled over by a sheriff's deputy.
Ex-wife from Crestview.
Oh, please, don't remember that. Please don't. The officer saw the 38-year-old man stopped at State Road 85 and Interstate 10 and noticed that his front windshield had a large crack that extended across the driver's field of vision, which is not legal. So he stopped him. When asked for his identity, Florida man was worried about what might happen to him, so he quickly decided to get clever and give the deputy a fake name.
Florida man.
Now, if this is something that you think you might want to try, there are a couple of things you should consider. First, you should avoid giving celebrity names, right? Brad Pitt, Vin Diesel, carrot top. They're going to see right through those, right? And I'd stay away from saying your name is George Santos because his tendency to lie is pretty well documented. So you don't want to put yourself in that area, right? And as I mentioned earlier,
My name is Bernie Madoff.
you might want to make sure the fake name isn't even more problematic than your own. When Florida man gave the cop a fake name and birth date, the Okaloosa County deputy did what officers normally do. He ran a records check on the name. After receiving the information from the dispatcher, the deputy promptly returned to Florida man's car and arrested him because turns out the name that Florida man gave had his driver's license suspended for DUI.
Florida man.
In the end, the Florida man came clean and admitted that the name was fake and that he'd given it to the deputy because he wanted to avoid being arrested on an outstanding warrant. Turns out that he, too, had lost his license due to a DUI. But that's not all. He was also wanted for aggravated battery because Florida.
Florida man.
The Florida man, whatever his name is, was charged with driving without a license and with obstruction. Reporting live from Okaloosa County, where I just told the officer my name was Seymour Butts. Let's see how this
Seymour
goes.
Butts.
My name, or at least the one I prefer to use, is Cruz, and that is your drinking news.
Drinking news. Now's our time for drinking news.
The best part of today's drinking news was Roberto saying I had to take my gator to the vet. That was totally the best part of today's drinking news.
Who did y'all use last week? Y'all used the recorded thing.
Yeah, who? Which one was it?
Was it the?
It was either Mary or Rachel.
Was it? It sounded like Rachel.
I think it was Rachel. I think it was Rachel.
because she
she
had
was-
done a great one
yeah.
into the.
Yeah.
She-
Mary's the one we use most often because there's just something about the way she says it.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. But I think we use Rachel, yeah. I have it on an app on my phone, and every now and then I get it confused and I play one that doesn't say I had to take my gator to the vet. It says something else. And then the whole segment falls apart. But that's
Don't
implying-
forget to get pads from the store.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like that implies the segment was ever together to begin with. So
getting
to say it falls
He's going to
apart,
play it
so-
one time and it's going to go,
Yeah, it's in the same way as what I'm-
Yeah, except it'll be my own voice.
Yeah.
So guys, we have our first bottom shelf bourbon already poured.
This
and
is the first one that we've
This is-
had
this is
so
A.
far. Now, keep in mind we've had 8, so this is number 9 that we've
Right.
tried so far today.
Right.
This
is the
tastes-
this is the first one that on the nose I can detect oak.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and hay.
And you get a little bit of it when you sip it as well.
I don't get a nose, but
I haven't got
Definitely
that far
oaky.
yet. Oh,
It's a little bit rough.
my taste buds are developing.
No,
I don't want to say something. But
Yeah.
you're
it's,
syndicating.
No, this
I
is
can't.
bad.
it's bad. It
This is
tastes
bad. Yeah,
like-
this is a little turpentine.
It almost has like it's like if I was drinking something that was sweetened with aspartame.
So this is okay. This is the weirdest thing. Okay,
You mean like a hard seltzer?
so this is the weirdest thing. Like we've had so many whiskeys today that have like an okay upfront flavor and then have this just awful aftertaste. This one has a terrible upfront flavor
Yeah.
and a not so bad aftertaste.
I was
It's
gonna
just
say-
cinnamon and oak.
The aftertaste is
is
great.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Roberto does not agree. So this is actually this
you
may
have
be
to
the
go to
first one that this may be the
Wow.
first one that we've really disagreed on. I don't think it's that bad.
I don't either.
This is rough.
I don't think it's that bad, but it's
No, the upfront flavor on this is rough.
All right, this is A. I agree with you. The finish is better than the upfront flavor.
Oh,
Agree with that.
100%. The
But-
upfront flavor is not good,
but
but
maybe
the
the
finish
reason-
on it is fantastic.
And maybe the reason I don't think it's that bad is because the finish, you're left with that a lot longer than you are with the upfront taste.
just
You
gotta
manage
fight
to-
it going in.
You manage to fight it down.
So this is
all
okay.
right.
So
Let's go
I'm not
B.
one for doing shots, right? But this
Right.
may be better with a shot.
Right, because you can just throw it back and then you're stuck with the finish, right?
I think I would stick with the
Stuck
Jim
with it,
Beam.
yes.
I think I would stick with the Jim Beam shot.
Oh, that Jimmy.
That was the apple and caramel
Yeah.
tasting one, right?
Is this one mine?
All right, so that was A. Here is whiskey bourbon B.
It smells like plastic cup.
Yep. I don't get anything.
It has an almost non-existent nose.
Yep.
I get straight cinnamon on the tongue, though.
Has an almost non-existent taste too. I
Yeah.
agree, there's cinnamon there,
Yeah.
but there's not much here.
What is this?
Well, it's
And
not
there's-
offensive.
I was just about to say it's very inoffensive,
Yeah.
And it
but
has-
it's not big on flavor.
Has an interesting salinity to it.
It's just that little bit of. I'm wrong. It's not cinnamon. It's just that little bit of heat on the tongue.
Yeah.
So this is, the frustrating thing about this is we would never say
I think I know what
this is a good whiskey, but the reality is that we might actually be able to. This might wind up being my favorite of this segment, just because it doesn't have a lot of the bad qualities
Exactly.
that some
Yeah,
of these have.
there's nothing bad
know?
about it. That being said, it doesn't have much personality.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
there's nothing bad about it.
There's
Right.
nothing wrong. It just lacks character, but it's not bad. And I think I know what this is because I'm familiar.
It'll be
with it.
interesting to see. We'll have you guess it
There is a
before he
slight
reveals it.
mineral quality to the water in the aftertaste as well.
For sure.
I think
All right.
The limestone.
that's
Yep.
yours. Did you get one?
Here is
What?
whiskey
This is
C.
a new one.
No, I got mine.
This is
Oh,
whiskey C.
Okay.
All right. So.
Whiskey C has a.
So he's asked me where. Look up in the thing next to the refrigerator. The shelves
we
next
out
to the
of cups?
refrigerator.
Is that what's
yeah,
going on?
we need more cups for this next one. And I'm
Okay, this one's
listening to those
actually
in the break.
solid. Nose
By
wise,
solid, do you mean non-liquid?
Very viscous.
Nose wise, it doesn't have too much going on. There's a little bit of
Actually, it's pretty good.
little vanilla.
It is
There's
pretty
a few
good.
other things,
You,
but
you can
but
pull
the,
some vanilla out of this. Yeah.
but the actual drinking of this, it has more mouthfeel than almost everything we've had.
Yep.
So
It's not thin and watery. It's got cinnamon. It's got a little vanilla.
Yeah. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
as bottom shelf whiskey goes, this is pretty acceptable.
I almost think I know what this is.
I
Me
bet I
too.
know what this is
Huh?
too.
I
All right,
almost
let's
know
go with the
too.
last one because we are running low on time here. This will be whiskey number D.
It almost tastes like another Jim Beam product.
I think I know what this is.
This one.
So it'll be interesting to see whether you guys are right on B and C because you both indicated you think you might know what they are. All right, this is our final one, guys.
You got this one? No.
Final one, and it is whiskey number D. And we're running short on time in this segment, so let's move quickly on this.
That one's not bad either.
It's got something I can't identify in there. There's
It
some
has a lot of
cinnamon.
acid.
Yeah, I don't know what
Strong
that
nose.
is.
With something I can't identify. Is it rhubarb? I know it's not rhubarb, but that was just the
Oh,
weirdest thing I could think of.
you know what? My second sip's not as good. Actually, it's a little harsh
Yeah,
on the second.
I'm not crazy about
I'm
it.
torn on this one.
It does have flavor. I'll give it that.
I'm torn
Yeah.
because it like if you just go in for the nose, it's like
All four of these are just bleh.
bleh.
All right, Ian, rank 'em and read them.
All right, number one is definitely C. C was probably
Agreed.
the most solid one overall. There's slight bits of orange in there. There's slight bits of oak, vanilla, blah blah blah. The second one, B. That's number two. The A. No, I think I got to go D. Even though D is rough, I think that's number 3, and then A is number 4 because A was like that. That the initial on that was really not good.
So you went C, B, D, A, correct?
Yes.
All right, Alan,
About the same thing.
exactly the same. All right,
Exactly the same.
all right, Roberto,
I was CBDA.
C,
Same thing.
B, D,
Yeah,
A,
same
and
thing.
I went C, B, A, D. D was my least favorite.
Okay.
But you guys, all three of you guys were the same, correct? And I was just off by one. So let's see.
What do you think?
What do you think-
C is?
I think C is gonna be.
Did you say Jim Beam?
I think a Jim Beam. I think it's gonna be Old Granddad.
I think it's gonna be
Okay.
old granddad.
And Alan, I can see he wrote that down in his.
I wrote down.
Show us what C was.
Oh, you want to know what C was?
Yeah, show us what C was. That was everyone's favorite.
yes.
It was Old Granddad.
You are correct, sir. You are
Very
correct,
good.
sir.
Very good. All right. So, all right.
I think B is benchmark.
B is benchmark. Let's see. Didn't we do benchmark already?
Rebel.
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 What?
All right, so
Same.
I'm going to show the Old Granddad, just to show this to the camera. And this was the one everybody liked.
There's nothing wrong with old granddad.
nothing-
Old Granddad.
not a
Any
thing
expression
wrong.
from OGD is the OG.
And then this one was which one again? This
Rebel.
was
Rebel.
Was
B?
which one was B?
Oh, that was B. Yes.
That was B. All right.
That was B.
So A was a lot of people's least favorite.
All right, A. Benchmark again.
What?
The
Yep.
same one?
Benchmark.
No, that's the
No.
more basic benchmark.
No, that's their. Yeah, that's
Uh,
Yeah.
Two
So
different benchmarks.
I didn't think Benchmark was gonna rank that bad.
well, the other one got a better rating.
And what was
The other
what
one
was
was called Top
What was
Floor.
D?
No, yeah, but
Evan Williams.
Evan
Yeah.
Williams. No kidding. Now D was my least favorite.
I could taste the heat because that one is a little bit hotter.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. So here's what we need to do. I need you to go back through your notes, and in our final segment, I'm going to ask for your top 3 of the day. So
I saved my
go
top
back
3.
through your
I'm about
notes.
to try them all back to back.
Oh, very good. Actually, my number 1 so far has been Ian's Infinity Cup. I can tell you that.
The Infinity Cup, not so bad,
It
right?
really was. Yeah.
Let's see how the Infinity Cup.
That's gonna be my favorite Avengers movie, Avengers Infinity Cup. It's gonna be it's the one where Tony Stark
It's not
gets
as
the
good as
whole
the one before.
Tony Stark gets the whole team
I
drunk.
don't know what I added to this Infinity Cup, but it is not good now.
It's not good anymore.
Sometimes something good can be led down a path, can go awry. So this has been interesting, though, don't you think? Overall, do you guys feel like these perform better or worse than what you were expecting?
Honestly, I think they're better
Yeah.
in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you agree?
Yeah, and I'm surprised by my Jim Beam's result.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, we will be back to rank 'em and read 'em. It's Smokin' and Toastin's blind taste test for bottom shelf bourbon. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Smokin' and Toastin'. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian's pouring a craft beer as we speak.
I love that
And
stuff.
it's time for us to give our wrap-up on the fine spirits. So we've done 12 different bottom shelf bourbons, and now we're going to check and see what everybody thought was the best. Alan, let's start with you.
All right, so my favorite was the Benchmark from D from Group A.
D from Group A.
And then
okay.
my second favorite was the Fighting Cock from Group A. And then
I thought nobody liked that one. You liked that one?
Yeah, I had it
Good
ranked
one.
as number 2 in the, in the
Didn't you
first.
bring that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my third favorite was A in the second group.
A in the second group. So A in the second group was.
No,
It was yes. It was the yes. I
Yeah.
got it.
The Quality House.
Quality
Quality
House.
House,
Yeah.
okay.
Quality
So
House.
that was your number 3. Your number 2 was
My number
Fighting
2
Cock.
was Fighting Cock, and my number 1 was the first benchmark we did.
The first benchmark.
Benchmark
okay.
Top Floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Ian, what about you?
So I got one from each segment, actually. So my number 1 was the OG, the old granddad. Like 100%. We knew immediately. All of us knew, except for you, I think.
I did not know, but see, I'm not that well schooled in old granddad. So
So number 2 was the Quality House from segment tasting segment 2, and then number 3 was Benchmark Top Floor. So I think
interesting. You guys like
I'd
that?
and I also I'd like to give an honorable mention to Old Crow for being the absolute worst today.
For sure.
All right, Roberto.
I think I'm gonna go. First one was Top Floor too, just like Alan.
So that's your number 1.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for OGD number 2,
Okay.
Quality House number 3,
Okay.
and surprisingly, I think Jim Beam came on 4th.
You've been really rooting for
did
Jim
not
Beam
like
this whole
Jim.
time.
Yeah,
You
Yeah,
really have.
it's just I think it's a surprise factor. It could be it.
My number 3 was this JTS Brown Kentucky bourbon from the first segment. That was my number 3. My number 2 was the I can't see the bottle, so I can't remember the name. The first one from
Quality
segment
House.
2. Quality House. Thank you.
Quality
and
House.
my number 1, and I'm now no longer in the dark about it, was the old granddad.
Old Granddad,
Yeah,
man,
now I
solid.
know.
Wait until
So-
you try the other expressions.
The bottled and bond.
Bottled and Bond
Yeah.
is
Now, I've actually
fantastic.
had the bottled and bond. I have not had this. So
the 114.
yeah.
It's
So Old
amazing.
Granddad 114 is a daily drinker for me. That is right up there with Wild Turkey 101. There's
Wild Turkey
6
101's
bottles
so
at my house of both of those.
That's you actually Wild Turkey 101 OGD. Yeah.
Because we're a little bit limited on time, I want to jump right into this final
This is
beer.
great.
This is from 11 Below Brewing. right here in our hometown of Houston. And they do the Big Mistake Imperial Stout every year. Every year it's a little bit different. This is the 2023
Dude,
Big
I'm going to
Mistake.
tell you, this is not far from being a barley wine.
Yeah, you're right.
And in the
Oh,
flavor
you're
notes
right,
and
'cause
everything,
it's
it
boozy.
is so.
Yeah.
It is boozy
It
and
is so
funky.
like date kind of prune kind of flavors. It's great.
This is
After being
right up your
gainfully
alley.
employed in Yellow Rose rye and bourbon barrels for about a year, the 8th vintage of Big Mistake is ready to work. Don't get caught sleeping on the job because this bad boy totally shreds. Comes in at 12.4.
We've had a couple of really big beers today.
What, 12.4?
Maybe not the best plan for the
12.4.
for the bourbon.
This drinks to me heavier than
The white chocolate.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
The
It's
artwork
sticky.
on here is they always have great artwork on their cans as well, but it's got a guy who's got his necktie stuck in a shredder.
Yeah.
And on the shredder it says "Caution, shreds dreams."
This is very sticky and delicious.
It is.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love
very
this
sticky.
kind of beer. I would
This is
drink this
almost
going
like,
down the river.
This is almost like cinnamon bun sticky, you know, like
Yeah.
a Cinnabon,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
And now it's time to try the final iteration
final.
No, I did. It was
you
horrible.
You are braver than I,
of
kind
the
sir.
Infinity Cup, which mine is
Yeah.
filled to the brim.
Hold on.
Cheers.
You want to pour some of that beer in it? Maybe
thank
not.
you.
Give me a cheers.
Was it
Cheers,
the first
sir.
beer? Yeah. So the two brave souls of the group here are trying the Infinity Cup.
Yeah, I did the Infinity Cup. It
Oh,
wasn't
my
good.
Infinity Cup is delicious.
Really?
Not bad at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, then
Absolutely
you didn't like
delicious.
yours.
Oh no, I took a
It's
sip of
kind
mine.
of
It was
like
horrible.
a compliment, like apples and cinnamon and
It's like all the best flavors are up front, and
Actually, mine's not bad.
it's a very cinnamony aftertaste.
Yes, it is. Very cinnamon.
Very
finish.
cinnamon,
Yeah.
but actually pretty good with just a little
Honestly,
charcoal on the
and
end.
the aftertaste is the best aftertaste I've had.
Honestly, I want to change my numbers. I think my Infinity Cup is my number one.
it's up
I
there.
think it may be even better than the old Grand.
I think we got like just a minute left, but just so you know, I bought 10 of these bottles just the other day. And for 10 bottles of 750 ml whiskey, every one of them says Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. $130.
Wow. And look how much you
10
have
bottles.
to add to your bar now, Ian.
Yeah.
Here's something people forget: just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's bad.
That's true.
Especially-
That's true. Absolutely.
Especially if it's Kentucky Straight Bourbon.
100%.
Absolutely.
Please turn in your receipts to RFC Media.
Yeah, thank
some
you
of the
guys
stuff is
for
bad,
thank you guys for being a part of the show today. We appreciate it. We will be back again with you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and as we like to say, cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
y'all.
See y'all in
Cheers,
2
guys.
weeks.
Guys, that was a great time.
So that anybody else says, such a stuff it won't